It doesn't matter what your name is.
You just made the list!
Rest in peace.
Tell me, he didn't just say that.
Brother, bro, brothers, bro, brothers, brother, brothers, brother, 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 brother.
You are not ready for.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
All you have to do is believe!
So for the benefit of those with flash photography,
Brother, 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 brothers, brother.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya!
You're fired.
Woo, 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 woo!
Brother, 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 brothers, brother. If you smell.
Oh yeah! Yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there's only one word to describe you.
Brother, 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 brother.
It's that time again. It's Hidden Gem Hunters. I am Alec Burnett alongside Peter Nixon. And first things first, how are you doing, Peter Nixon?
Bow, down, 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 down,
Evolution.
Hey?
It's evolution.
It is.
It's fresh in the mind.
Exactly.
Fresh in the mind, and I've got one. I'm so happy about it.
What a banger that song is.
Yeah, amazing. It's. I think that's my favorite of the Motorhead WWE themes.
Oh yeah, it goes Evolution, then King of Kings, then The Game.
I don't know. I think
that's how it goes.
Okay, cool. I thought this was a podcast where we could have differing opinions, but obviously I'm mistaken.
No, have you not listened to the past few shows? We have very, very similar opinions now.
This is true. Yeah, I have noticed that. Hopefully it won't all be the identical scoring again this week. How's your week been?
Yeah, pretty good. I would say better than Hugh Edwards' week, but that would date the podcast, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's had better ones.
Yep. Naughty boy.
So if we're measuring our week against how his was, I've had a fantastic week.
We shouldn't laugh about it.
No, we shouldn't.
No.
We really shouldn't. We really shouldn't. Although I did see a tweet today that did make me laugh in the wrong way. When someone asked Max Caster from The Acclaimed, they asked if he had any ideas for his rap for London for the All In show, and he just responded with Prince Andrew.
Oh dear, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, exactly. They might not be invited back.
No.
So this week we watched Armageddon 2003. And we also had a TV match from Nitro in 1999. So we'll kick off talking about that. So it was a cruiserweight 4-way. That's Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrero, and Blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
So what did you think? Because I actually looked at the dates, and this was actually the week before the DDP Sting match that we watched.
It was indeed. It takes me back to when my friend Daniel Cundy used to record Nitro on a Friday night on Bravo and then bring it in for me the next week to school so I could watch it.
Yeah, well, I used to watch it on Bravo. That's where I maintained my Nitro watching. Was
because they used to show
Bravo.
They used to show Nitro and then Thunder straight afterwards.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, and there's some dreadful matches on those old school Thunders.
I love it though. I absolutely love the randomness of a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
I loaded up this episode of Nitro and saw like the opening tag match had the Armstrongs,
yeah.
Scott and Steve. I was like, wow, I
Yeah.
didn't
Not
realize that was
even
a
like,
thing at that time.
yeah, not even Brad. It was Steve and Scott, the referee.
Yeah, exactly. Who looked jacked, by the way.
Yeah,
but,
didn't he?
but really looked like Bullet Bob.
I was just about to say, look just like his dad.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much random stuff, random people popping up. I remember I think it might have been '96, might have even been slightly later than that. I'm not sure on the exact date, but like a random cruiserweight match suddenly had David Sammartino.
What?
Yeah, I'm not even joking.
From the 80s, David Sammartino.
David Sammartino, the son of Bruno
Yeah.
Sammartino, just randomly. And if I'm guessing you've seen David Sammartino in the '80s.
Yeah, I saw him, when he was being managed by Bruno.
Yeah, and he was quite short in stature, but
Yeah.
quite stocky. Had a bit of a kind of doughy kind of build.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he rocks up in like '96, '97 time in the cruiserweight division and absolutely shredded.
Wow.
But I had like one match and then didn't have another one. It was really weird. I'll have
How
to
bizarre.
I'll have to find it and show you. But
That could be our
what did you
TV
make?
match next week.
Yeah. I'll have to have a look exactly who he was on with. I can't remember. It might have been Dean Malenko. So what did you think of this four-way? Because I've got some opinions, but I'll let you go. I'll let you go first.
I've got opinions too. I thought when you announced the lineup for this match, I thought, oh, this is going to be like an absolute spot fest. It's going to be crazy. And there's some good stuff in it, but there's a lot of botches. Yeah, I struggled with this one because it's long as well. For a cruiserweight four-way on Nitro, I thought they might do 10 minutes tops. I don't know the exact length of time, but it felt like it went very long.
Yeah, this to me was an example of longer isn't always better.
Yeah.
And actually, there's an example of that on the Armageddon show. I think, yeah, for me, this just didn't click. Nothing seemed to work for me in this. It was really awkward.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of, and now don't get me wrong, like it can get a little bit frustrating in some sort of four ways and things where two people are fighting and the other two have kind of just disappeared conveniently. That can get a little bit suspect at times, but
Yeah.
it felt like a lot of the time in this, you'd have two people trying to do something, and the other two are just kind of in their way.
Yeah.
So they wasn't allowed the space to do what they needed to do without kind of rushing it or botching it a little bit, and then a lot of stuff didn't look great. I thought that Hoovy's good, right?
Yeah.
So I'll admit my favorite Hoovy match, and I know you'll know the match, but my favorite night of Hoovy, I think the best night of his career, is like the X Cup that he did in TNA in like 2003.
Yeah, he wrestled Teddy Hart and then
Yeah.
Chris Sabin.
Yeah, what a night that was.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of absolute bangers in that, and I thought he looked quality in that. But yeah, in this, I just thought nothing really worked for me, and it was long,
Yeah.
and it didn't really need to be. The only one who really got any kind of a crowd reaction was Ray.
But Ray was the one that messed up the most.
Oh yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't on form in this at all.
No, it was bizarre.
Yeah, really strange. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy this.
Not really. No, nowhere near as thought as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, I was hyped for it, and this really disappointed. And I would go as far as to say this is the worst TV match we've watched so far.
I know, and it's hard for me to say because obviously Rey Mysterio is in it, and my history of Rey Mysterio. Psychosis, I thought he won the match, and won his first cruiserweight title, I believe. He looked good, but then, Blitzkrieg is somewhat of an enigma because he came and went in about 6 months.
Yeah, so Blitzkrieg. So there's a guy called Jay Ross.
Mm-hmm.
And he retired at like 30.
Yeah.
Was there for a cup of tea. I actually had a look because I wanted to know a little bit more about him and kind of how he came and went so quickly and everything.
Mm.
But he got injured on a tour
Right.
show, and then just decided not to come back, from what I understand. And now he's like a physio or something of that nature. Yeah, but he came and he went just as quick. So
Yeah.
yeah, very, very strange. Although the gear, I believe, the Blitzkrieg gear was given to, and the gimmick was done on the Indies for a bit by Jack Evans.
Yes, I did hear that.
Yeah, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, this match didn't work for me. Didn't enjoy it. I'm a fan of majority of the parts in this match, but together it just didn't click on this night, I didn't think.
No, I totally agree.
And maybe it's one that is sort of remembered because it was a long match in the cruiserweight division or something. Sometimes people mistake that for length for quality.
Yeah.
But it's how you use it. So yeah, it didn't work for me. Definitely not a hidden gem.
No, agreed. I mean, it's memorable because of Psychosis winning the cruiserweight title. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's about it. And I still don't really ever fully embrace Rey Mysterio without the mask.
It's
It just
hard to watch, isn't it?
doesn't feel right.
Mm.
Just doesn't feel right. Something is missing. Well, the mask, obviously, but just even like the gear is pants. His gear was always cool.
Yeah.
Other than outside of the mask, his gear was still cool, but it was very sort of colourful and everything. And then it was just kind of, let's put some baggy trousers on. And it also felt like at times that, especially around this point in history, WCW kind of just took things that were over in WWE and just did them themselves, like the Bronco Buster.
Yeah.
So that was over in WWE with X-Pac, so Rey Mysterio decides to do it. Yeah,
Even
I
when
don't think.
Hoopy started referring to himself as the Juice.
Yeah, exactly. Even little things kept getting brought to mind. I was like, more I thought about it, I was like, Booker T doing the rock bottom
Yeah.
while Stevie Ray did the pedigree.
Yeah. It was
This
a shit
little.
pedigree as well, wasn't it?
Oh, it was terrible, but yeah, just little things. And there was someone, I can't remember who it was, but might have been Kidman started doing the Unprettier.
Yeah, it might have been.
Yeah, I think he did for a
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, but yeah, they just took anything that worked and just robbed it.
Mm.
And it just felt like it was second rate. But anyway, I don't really want to talk about that match anymore because it was a bit disappointing.
Let's
So
move
if
on.
let's move on to the main event of why we're here. So we are talking about Armageddon 2003, and I remember that this was a pay-per-view event that at the time did not air in the UK.
Okay.
It was in between them signing a new rights deal, and there was a big kerfuffle. And this was kind of in between that, and it didn't air in the UK. And it was an absolute nightmare to try and get hold of this show back in 2003 when it hadn't aired in the UK. So
Yeah,
I didn't.
that does ring a bell.
Yeah,
Did they move to Setanta for some of their pay-per-views?
yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, it was that that deal, and it all kind of fell through, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of confusion. And this was the pay-per-view in the middle of all that where it didn't air. And I remember being really annoyed about it at the time. So because at the time I was watching every single Raw, every single SmackDown, every single pay-per-view, every single episode of Velocity, everything I could get, everything I could get my grubby little hands on. I was watching, so I was very annoyed, very annoyed. God damn you, Setanta,
Yeah.
whoever you are, whoever you may be. WWF or WWE, sorry, Armageddon 2003, 14th of December 2003 in Orlando, Florida, in front of 12,672 fans. And this kicked off with Mark Henry against Booker T. And I enjoyed this.
Do you know what? I thought they both worked really hard in this match.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Because of your affinity for guys like Big Daddy V and wrestlers like that, I'm gonna just take a punt in the dark and say that you're a Mark Henry fan.
I'm a Mark Henry fan, yes.
Oh, I knew it. You're that
Now,
kind of person, aren't you?
I am a Mark Henry fan, but I think even people who weren't necessarily Mark Henry fans can appreciate like the Hall of Pain era, and when he really got elevated into that position. But I always just thought it was a believable thing. You know, he legitimately was like the strongest man in the world, and yeah, I just bought into that when he first came in, and then I wasn't a fan of the even at the age I was and how ridiculously silly it was. I wasn't a fan of the whole sexual chocolate Mark Henry. I was a fan of every era where Mark Henry was like a bit of a badass. So this era, and then even him on ECW with Tony Atlas, I enjoyed.
Yeah.
That was fun, and then obviously the Hall of Pain stuff. There's a few. I think just Mark Henry as a heel, I enjoyed. His sort of babyface runs, I didn't really care for, but yeah, I was a Mark Henry fan, and I thought, like I say, he worked hard. Booker T worked really hard. They kind of knew the assignment as the opener.
Yep.
It dragged maybe a little bit in the middle, but I thought overall this was a really good opener. Booker T was really over. Yeah, and I couldn't really complain about this for an opening. It didn't blow me away, but I thought it was really, really solid.
Do you know what? It was cool to see Mark Henry trying out some new stuff. He dropped a couple of leg drops in this, and they looked awkward. But it's cool to see him do something else. He really he tried that power bomb, didn't he? And nearly put Booker T down wrong.
But it almost looked like it was intended. They kind of got their wires crossed a little bit, and he just went, sod it, powerbomb.
Yeah, it looked like that was meant to lead into the finish. Maybe the Booker gets out of the power bomb, blow to the midsection, scissor kick, go home. But
yeah, like he pulls him up, and he almost like just drops his legs off of his shoulders down, boot midsection. Yeah, I could see how that might have been, and then obviously if they got a bit tangled up, and he just decided, powerbomb.
Yeah.
But it didn't look amazing. What I did always like and always thought looked brutal. So Mark Henry's got the guy on the second rope, and he does the run through over the top of him, and he goes to the outside through the ropes.
Oh yeah, we call that the Bruce.
Right. Yes, I've seen him do it.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it. Yes, the memories are coming back to me.
There's a wrestler called UK wrestler called Bash. Great guy. His name's Bruce, and he used to do that move really well. And he used to hit it and then go yeah. So I was watching this show with good friend, better enemy Brad O'Brien, and when Mark Henry hit that move, we both just went yeah.
He was in a match, the first ever WAW show I ever attended. He was in the opening match, and I remember it well. I attended that show in the town of March, and sat there and watched the show with my good friend Tickle. And
I remember Tickle.
Yeah, we watched the show, and and the opening match, I believe, was Bash and Sam Nee.
Well,
So yeah, that happened.
but it did.
It certainly did. It certainly happened. Um, but yeah, I do remember him doing that move. But I always thought it was a pretty brutal looking move from someone the size of Mark Henry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I gave this a 6 and an enjoyable 6.
Yep, I also went 6. We're starting off on the same level.
Can I ask as we go along, because I find it quite interesting. So what did young Brad think of this? Was he on the same page? Enjoy it?
Yep, exactly the same. He was surprised at, how good this match was. When you look at, I mean, Booker T is always good, unless he's wrestling Rick Steiner. But to see Mark Henry have a match of this caliber, in this era as well, when he wasn't known as, certainly wasn't known as a workhorse. Yeah, I was surprised at how good this match was.
But the thing is, if you look at it, he had his time in sexual chocolate stuff, and then I think he'd had an injury, and then he spent a good chunk of time, good year or two, down working in OVW.
Yeah.
And really, because I think it's quite well documented. He obviously signed on a massive contract and was kind of thrown straight in the deep end, really.
Yeah.
I think him going to OVW in that time there probably really taught him how to actually work properly, and made him a lot better for it. But yeah, this went 10 minutes and 20 seconds, so it didn't go long enough to outstay its welcome, but it went long enough for it to be good and not a rush or anything. Yeah, good opener. Second on the show was Rob Van Dam against Randy Orton with Mick Foley as the special guest referee. This is kind of set up at the start with Foley, something about the petition to bring back Stone Cold, and then was interrupted, and then made himself the referee, and but that got us into this match for the Intercontinental Championship. This was a good length match at 17 minutes 59 seconds. What did you think?
I loved this match. Easily the best match on the show. What I liked about this match, I was 17 minutes, so it's a good length, and it didn't feel long. It didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome, like you like to say. Both hit their greatest hits in this one. Like RVD did the split leg moonsault, draping him on the barrier, then jumping up onto the apron and hitting the spin kick over the barrier. I love that move. Orton picking RVD up onto his shoulder and then falling back with a neck breaker. That always looked impressive. But it came down to the RKO versus the 5-star frog splash. Basically, who could hit their finish first would be the winner. And it just so happened Randy hit the RKO and took it home. But yeah, I thought this was spectacular. No botches that I could see. I always thought that Orton and RVD had great chemistry. So, what did you reckon?
So, yeah, this started slow, so you kind of knew it was going to get time. But for that reason, it built really, really well. I thought the finishing stretch was fantastic. And actually, I was watching it, and Meg was in the room while I was watching it, and she was reacting to some of the stuff that RVD was doing.
Yeah.
And you forget almost sometimes just how impressive some of his stuff was because you've seen it so many times.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And
I mean,
she's seeing that stuff for the first time.
Yeah. When I go back to the first time I saw RVD, I was so amazed. But then, like you say, you get used to him because I've been watching him since 1999.
Yeah, so I was never someone that watched ECW when it happened. I've been back and watched stuff, but I didn't watch it at the time, really. I saw maybe odd little bits and bobs. and I remember seeing RVD a little bit when he had odd little matches in WWE.
Yeah.
When some of the ECW guys did and things. But my first real exposure to him was the Invasion,
Mm-hmm.
and I just remember the Invasion pay-per-view and him against Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
And that was my first proper exposure to Rob Van Dam, and was blown away. And I just remember seeing all of this stuff that you kind of get used to a little bit, seeing it all for the first time, and how he just blew people away, and seeing that reaction to some of it, like the spin kick off the apron and all that stuff. And sometimes you just think, and some of his little, you just do a little spring off the second rope and vault backwards with a little kick, and you just think, how do you not blow your legs out on your landings? Because sometimes you just think, how. But obviously he's just ridiculously flexible and everything. But not many people could do the things that he did. And funnily enough, you look at him now and you realise that if he came along now, he'd be considered like an actual heavyweight.
Yeah.
So many smaller guys around. He wasn't that small, but he was doing lots of impressive stuff. Yeah, they had really good chemistry. Finishing stretch was really good. Orton, even at this point, he was still, he's already so smooth. The standing drop kicks and stuff on the outside, and you just think it's ridiculous, really. RVD at this point, I think, was probably at his best. Not in terms of him doing crazy stuff and things, but RVD as a worker, I think this was probably when he was at his best for me. I think I thought this was fantastic. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to what you were saying about jumping off the second rope and hitting that kick, landing on one foot. Look what happened to Sid Vicious. He tried something similar, big boot off the second, and he just shattered his leg on the landing.
Yeah, grim.
And it's because RVD, trained hard, did yoga and stretched and all of that, and that is so important to the longevity of a wrestler. I can't emphasize it enough.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this match blew me away. How did you rate it?
I gave this match a 9.
I was toying with a 9. I went with an 8 in the end.
Okay, that's fair. I think for me, it just creeped into a 9. I was happy enough with the finish. It was one of those where I was like, I hope this doesn't get ruined by a real shitty finish, because obviously there's a lot of other moving parts going on at the time, and it didn't feel like it did. And plus, you're seeing the disappointment in Foley having to count to 3, his body language in that, knowing full well that this is heading towards Orton and Foley matches. Especially the Backlash 2004 match is one that obviously that stands out, but that feud was really good. I really enjoyed this.
I mean, I'm so tempted to change it to a 9. I'm going to keep it as an 8, but maybe this could be considered for a hidden gem. Maybe let's talk about it at the end of the pod.
Okay. So then we moved on to match number 3, which was the Battle of the Sexes. Chris Jericho and Christian against Trish Stratus and Lita. This only went 6 minutes and 37 seconds. But I really enjoyed it.
Do you know what? I thought this was tremendous. Brad made the point, this is how you work an intergender match.
I agree.
And I mean, you could make the point that in this day and age, you put someone in the ring with Jordynne Grace, for example, and it's believable that Jordynne Grace would hold her own against most people on the circuit. But
Yeah.
in 2003, when it's two big stars like Chris Jericho and Christian against two women that are nowhere near as built as Jericho and Christian, then this is how you work that kind of match. The psychology of this was
the same
spot
thing.
on.
It's the same thing psychology wise. If you have a far bigger male against a far smaller male,
Yeah,
you have to make it believable, and it's not a gender thing. It's just making it a believable fight.
yeah.
You know. But this was, I thought, really fun. Christian is a delightful dickhead.
Oh,
Personally,
what a term.
he's a delightful dickhead. Um, and yeah, they played especially him, played the kind of bully role really well, but never made the women look weak.
Absolutely.
They continued to fight, and then the men sold for them really well. Made all their stuff look really good. It was really competitive and really enjoyable.
Yep, I totally agree. I've got in my notes, Christian's heel work is fantastic. And do you remember when Christian tags in initially and he just shoves Trish Stratus down?
Yeah.
Me and Brad popped huge.
Yeah, it was just the bully nature of it, just shoving it down, and the kind of shit-eating grin on his face. I thought it was fantastic, really, really good. I really enjoyed this. I gave this a 7.
I also went 7. I think with a bit more substance, it could have been up to an 8 even.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong in this. There was nothing that I can criticize it for. Really,
Nope.
it was thoroughly enjoyable, but it was a 6.5 minute match. I couldn't really go higher than a 7,
No.
but it's a well deserved 7. Lots of praise for this one.
Totally.
Match number 4 was Shawn Michaels against Batista. This was 12 minutes and 28 seconds. What did you think?
I liked it. The match was, dominated by Batista, and Shawn made Batista's offense look really good. That's what Shawn Michaels does. That's what he was best at. And I loved the finish, nice and simple. He got out of the Batista bomb, super kick, fell on top, 1, 2, 3. Lovely and simple. Very formulaic, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Most of my matches were formulaic. I no complaints about this match. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It was very much Shawn Michaels going out and getting a match out of Batista. Batista was not what he would become. Batista became, he was very, fresh at the time. Still very sort of clunky in a lot of the stuff he did, but Shawn Michaels made him look really good.
Yeah.
And obviously they had a little angle after the match to kind of get Batista some of his, say his heat back, but make him look good in defeat by sort of taking out Maven, didn't he? After the match, and then the match that was scheduled for Maven against Matt Hardy never happens.
10.
Yeah, so
perfect. 10 out of 10. Hidden gem. Matt Hardy versus Maven.
Yeah, hidden because it never happened. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
This was decent. I gave it a 6.
I went with a 7, purely because of how hard Shawn Michaels worked to make Batista's offense look good.
Yeah. I can see that. I'm gonna stick at a 6, but I think I can see your reasoning. Next up, we had match number 5, which was technically the longest match on the entire show, mainly because it was many matches within one match.
Yeah.
This was a tag team turmoil, and this went 20 minutes and 48 seconds. So just to run down the teams we had in this: Hurricane and Rosie, La Resistance,
Boo.
Garrison Cade and Mark Jindrak,
Boo.
Lance Storm and Val Venus,
Yay.
the Dudleys,
Yay.
and then the surprise at the end with the additional team of Batista and Ric Flair.
And you missed out Scott Steiner. Yay. And Test. Boo.
I did miss them out. Yeah, Scott Steiner and Test also in this as well. So, I mean, for me, this highlights how shite the tag division was at the time.
Are you having a laugh? How stacked the tag team division was.
How? No one cared about any of it.
Tell me how.
Like, no one cared about La Resistance.
Well, no, true. They were the villains, though.
No one cared about Caden Jindrak.
I'll give you that, but he had a lovely left hand.
Yeah, no one cared about Lance Storm and Val Venus.
I cared about Lance Storm and Val Venus.
Right, but it was just a nothing thrown together team. You know, Steiner and Test. I mean, I'm a massive Scott Steiner fan. I'm even a fan of Test. But it's just, yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was just all a bit shit, really, to be honest. I enjoyed some of the stuff. I enjoyed some of the stuff. Hurricane nearly breaking his spine at the very start.
Oh, yeah, that slip on the dive was a bit embarrassing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that sort of set the tone for me, really. I enjoyed the finish with him coming off the shoulders of Rosie. I'm sure he enjoyed doing that after smashing his back into the side of the ring.
Yeah. What I didn't like about that was that, you know, Hurricane and Rosie had a decent little match with La Resistance. Then they just did a total reset. Caden Jindrak jumped Hurricane and Rosie, pinned him 1, 2, 3. Storm and Venus come out, and then it's a totally new match.
Yeah.
So Storm and Venus make their entrance, and Venus and Jindrak or whoever lock up and start a new match.
Yeah.
It didn't flow very well. It flowed better after this. Big pop for the Dudley boys, as expected. They get through Cade and Jindrak. They get through Steiner and Test. Hard fought match, and then the surprise finishing tag team of Batista and Ric Flair take advantage of the Dudley boys, and it was a little anticlimactic. I'll give you that, because Flair just comes out. Sorry. Dinky has climbed up on the back of the sofa onto my chair and is licking me in the ear. Hello, darling. You want to say hello to Alec? No. Oh. Sorry, Alec.
It's all right, mate.
Yeah, so Flair comes out and he's working on Bubba's leg. He hits the ropes just to kick Bubba in the leg. I thought that was so funny.
Amazing.
Yeah, so he slaps the figure 4 on Bubba whilst Batista hits the Batista bomb on Devon. It's very anticlimactic, but it gets Evolution over as the shit heels that they are.
Yeah.
And the other thing I got in my notes is the shaky Devon leg. So Batista hits the big power bomb, and as Batista's pinning Devon, his leg's just convulsing.
I did see that.
Devon did that a lot, and it never really gets talked about, but I'm a big fan of it. Even after the match, Batista and Flair are celebrating with the belts, and Devon's just laying there.
Amazing. Reacting like he'd been thrown into the non-electrified electric cage from
lockdown.
Hurricane and Rosie were a fun team, superhero in training. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
La
Everyone loves the
Resistance.
SHIT.
Yeah, La Resistance when one of them's not French.
He changed his name to Robert.
Not on this. They were Rob Conway the whole way through.
Oh, okay. No. I'll
Yeah.
take this match down to a 2 then.
Exactly. I just missed Sylvain Grenier.
Sylvain was the shittest one, though.
Yeah, I know, but at least he was French. So yeah, and Rob Conway was, I can only accept Rob Conway when he is, just look at me.
And I decide to see.
Exactly. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy this. I gave it a 5.
Wow. Okay, I was far more generous. I gave it a 7.
Okay.
Deal with
it. Yeah, I will have to. I will have to deal with it. But I mean, the way I look at it, if I'm comparing it to the other stuff on the show, and I gave the Trish Lita Jericho Christian match a 7, and I've enjoyed that way more than I enjoyed this. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but if you're comparing them, I like different things about different matches.
True.
I like the variety in this tag team turmoil. I thought there was some really good stuff in here. And it's cool to see. Cool to go back and watch some of these old teams, like Hurricane and Rosie. So yeah, I stick with my 7.
That's fine. That's fine. You're allowed to, my friend.
I know it's fine.
Match number 6. We'll move on. Match number 6 was for the women's championship. In a match that, to be honest, they said was added in the commentary. They said was added the last minute. It felt like it was added last minute.
Yeah.
Molly Holly against Ivory, 4 minutes and 23 seconds. Nobody really cared.
Yeah, crowd didn't care at all. I thought they did the best they could with such little time and zero creative booking. Did Ivory even know she was booked? Because she wasn't wearing gear. It looked like she was wearing clothes she would normally wear. She was wearing like cowboy boots and like a snake skin. I don't know what you'd call it.
Now I know that Molly Holly's gear was what she kind of always wore, but she also her gear was not something that looked like typical wrestling gear. It looked like something you'd see from someone picking up their kids from school. It was. They didn't do anything wrong.
Well, no, yeah, that is true.
So I can't score it too low. But for me, even the commentary treated this as an afterthought.
Exactly. I mean, Ivory wasn't at this point in time. Ivory wasn't being booked as a legit contender for the women's championship. So there was no doubt about who was going over.
Yeah, and I think this highlighted the difference. Like when the women's title at this time was not around Trish or Lita, people didn't really care. No one else was really over. Others got reactions, but mainly when they were against Trish or Lita. The crowd didn't really care. It was frustrating watching. Like JR said, when this match has been added to the show, and it's a women's championship match, and in the most sarcastic way possible, like King just responds and just goes, "Wow,
wow."
Just wow, and just and then there's like a 10-15 second silent pause.
That's probably
no one says anything.
Roll his ear off.
Yeah, and then he suddenly goes, a women's championship match added to the show. Can you believe this? Really excitedly, and it's like, yeah, you've just been told off.
Yeah.
But realizing that the story with Molly Holly at the time was that she was sexually frustrated.
Oh yeah, because she was pure, wasn't she?
Yeah, and that
Um,
it just irritated me because on commentary you've just got Jerry Lawler milking that for all it's worth, and then asking
yeah,
JR like, "Are you sexually frustrated, JR?" And it's just awful. And then Molly Holly takes the turnbuckle pad off, and JR says, "Molly just exposed the turnbuckle." And King responds, "Did you say Molly's exposed?" And it's just like, oh, do we need this? But I guess it's a sign of the times, obviously.
exactly.
But yeah, it's cringy watching and hearing him now. Really
Yeah,
cringy. I mean, it's almost less cringy when that's what the women in the match are going for, if that makes sense.
yeah,
But in this, they were just trying to have a good little match. You know, they didn't have a lot of time, but they were trying, and there's nothing wrong with what they were doing. And then your commentaries like that, yeah, it just kind of annoyed me a little bit. Anyway, so I gave it a 4.
yep. I also went 4.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It wasn't better than that. It didn't have time to be better than that, but
No,
they
exactly.
didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
There's nothing that was botched or anything that didn't look fine.
yeah. But both women are capable of more, given more time and better booking.
Yeah, absolutely, I'd agree with that. And that brings us to the main event. This was seventh match on the show. This went 19 minutes and 28 seconds long.
Oh boy, did it ever!
Yeah, this was Goldberg defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Triple H and Kane in a triple threat match. Did you want to take this?
Do you know the highlight of the match for me?
Go on.
When Triple H had put Goldberg through the announce table, Triple H had the chair, and Kane just looked at him and said, "What are you going to do with that?" And Triple H's facial expression, realizing, "Oh yeah, I've messed up here." That was the
Yeah.
best part of the match. This
Yeah, that
was
says
not,
something.
yeah, this was not much of a three-way. It was one of those matches that felt like 3 singles matches happening at once.
Mm.
And I just don't like those kinds of three-ways. A three-way
Mhm.
should be 3 men wrestling, not 2 men. One takes a powder, the other man gets in, and it goes on like that. It doesn't work for me, brother.
I just, it was firstly way too long,
Oh yeah, for
way too long.
for a Goldberg match, it was about 16 minutes too long.
Yeah, and I'm not, I'm not someone I don't think I've ever seen good selling from Goldberg.
Nah, the only
Everything,
time he sold well was when Scott Hall hit him with the taser at Starcade.
yes, yeah, yeah.
He did
But
the Devon cell.
Mm. Everything in this was fucking awkward.
Ah, big time.
It was just clunky and horrible for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, and the crowd tried at times
Hmm.
in some of like Goldberg's comebacks and things, but it took the WWE way too long to figure out that people do not pay to see Goldberg in long matches.
Yeah, exactly.
Like less is more. That's what people pay to see. They pay to see him smash through someone.
Yeah.
They're
They
happy.
never, I would say they never once realized it in his first WWE run. It took him until he came back in 2017
Yeah,
against
yeah,
Brock Survivor Series for them to realize that Goldberg's strengths are in short squash matches, essentially.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, he's the squash match king, you know. But they just tried so hard. They treated him like every other main eventer that they had. In that when you go into the main event, you're having 20-minute main events. But I mean, straight away, like his first match was against The Rock, right? Backlash 2003. And that there, with the novelty of Goldberg was there, but even then he's selling and everything for The Rock. And the match wasn't bad, but imagine the response if he just smashed through The Rock. The Rock was on his way out anyway.
Can you imagine?
You know what I mean? If he did to The Rock what he did to, Brock in his comeback in 2017, if he did that to The Rock then, it would have been insane.
Exactly. Considering Rock was going away anyway.
Yeah. It wouldn't have done him any harm.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have done him any harm. And instead, we got to see Goldberg exposed.
Yeah.
For not being the best worker. And it almost felt completely intentional.
Maybe
let's show him up as not being as good as people think he is, and show him up.
Why would they sabotage their new big star?
Well, they sabotage a lot of people. It feels like everybody that came from WCW got the legs cut out from under them at some point. Some of them recovered, others didn't.
Yeah, they did it.
Yeah, exactly. And probably the one that did the best out of it was Booker T. But even he, a lot of people talk about Mania 19 with him and Triple H and how that should have been his moment. And then he just got beat. And he never really got back there. I mean, obviously the King Booker stuff got him a world title run, but I feel like he's probably the one who recovered best and had the longevity. But everyone else really that came in from WCW or whatever, anyone that got popular as well around that sort of time, usually just ended up losing to Triple H.
Yeah, look what they did to DDP when he came in.
Yeah. The problem was everybody in the Invasion had to be a heel because they were on the heel WCW side.
Yeah.
And it completely messed everything up because everyone on the WWF side, you suddenly had to cheer, even though half of them were heels and half of them weren't.
Yeah.
And the same goes for WCW. Like the pop that DDP gets when he's revealed in the ring.
Yeah.
Is insane. People didn't want to boo DDP.
Exactly.
But because he's part of WCW, he has to be the heel. And that's, for me, why it didn't work. I think it not necessarily as an invasion, but bringing in several of the people who were involved in the invasion, they could have got over just fine. But they didn't because they weren't being who they were. Because DDP was never that guy in WCW.
No, exactly.
And so was trying to play a completely different character when he's way too established to do that. It didn't work. But anyway, I noticed there that we decided to talk about anything other than this fucking main event.
Well, yeah, that was intentional.
Yeah, exactly. This wasn't good. I gave it a 5.
I also went with a 5.
Yeah, bad, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can remember this match being better than it was. Now, I must have watched this show either not when it happened because we talked about that earlier, but I must have had the DVD of it at some point. And yeah, I just remember it being better than that.
Yeah, definitely. I see. It almost looks like, okay, they've thrown a third person into this Triple H Goldberg feud, so Triple H can win the belt back, but doesn't have to pin Goldberg. But then Goldberg is the one that got pinned.
Exactly, and
so it didn't make any sense.
Finish as well. Kane hits the chokeslam on Goldberg. Batista pulls Kane out of the ring, and Triple H just pins Goldberg.
Yeah. Yeah, ridiculous. Rubbish, mate. So yeah, terrible finish, but this is obviously the night that got all the belts onto Evolution.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, and obviously Orton's reign as Intercontinental Champion was really good.
Mm-hmm.
No
One of the
one
greats.
really, no one really wanted the belt back on Triple H, but this led to WrestleMania with Triple H. He lost to Benoit in a really good 3-way.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Which was a cracking 3-way. But yeah, no one wanted Triple H as champion at this point. But at the same time, Goldberg on top wasn't working because they were booking him in long matches like this. So it wasn't working with him either.
No, exactly. So what do you do? I know they were working towards Triple H and Shawn Michaels again, for a Royal Rumble. I think that's what they did anyway. Yeah. So yeah, just a weird way of getting there, I thought.
Yeah, I'd agree. So that concludes Armageddon 2003.
I do have one more point to make about this show.
Okay, yeah.
The
I was going to get there.
The presentation of this show. It was just a Raw stage, wasn't it? Just a Raw stage with a couple of flaming A's.
Fire, yeah.
I thought that was so lazy. I mean, in this era, when the stages looked so good.
What was your favourite?
Oh, I used to like the Judgment Day set with the tombstones and that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, my favourite Judgment Day one though was 2004, where they had the big giant crosses hung everywhere, and
yeah,
that was really, really cool. Also featured the debut of Mordecai.
Oh, your favourite, yeah.
I love him. So yeah, that was I think my favourite. I was just used to like the big swinging things for Backlash.
Yeah, Backlash was awesome.
They were cool. Yeah, and then everything just became giant screens.
Oh, I hate it this day and age. You can't tell one show from the other with WWE.
Yeah. That's what I kind of liked, even though they're just using screens, but I kind of like whenever they're in a big building, like the Puerto Rico one, where they kind of came out of a smaller space.
Yeah.
And had the sort of the angled runway and everything. It just makes it you can tell it apart. It just makes it look a bit different.
Exactly. They did that at the O2 for SmackDown and Money in the Bank.
Yeah. I also liked
you can fit more people in.
Yeah, it means you can fit more in. I liked as well the stage that they've used for the Rumble, where like Edge returned, where it was. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry. When Edge returned, they just had the low level kind of screen, and they were in amongst the crowd almost. It just felt really, really different and cool. But yeah, everything is just.
They're baseball stadiums, aren't they? They do the Royal Rumble from these days. So they're almost coming from the dugout.
Yeah. So, but it just gives it a little bit of a different look. Any kind of different look is favourable.
Yeah.
From just giant screens.
Exactly.
It's really annoying. Overall, this show, I enjoyed it. Overall, there's some really good stuff on here. I thought, let's say, opener really good. RVD and Orton really good. The intergender tag was really good. Batista and HBK was decent. You liked the tag turmoil more than me, but it was watchable. The women's championship match wasn't great. Main event wasn't great, but I've totaled everything up.
Yeah.
And this show scored a 6.1.
That feels generous, doesn't it?
Which actually makes this the second highest scoring show that we've watched.
Wow.
But if you look at it, up until the last two matches, this was scoring pretty well.
Yeah, I get you.
So yeah, it's usually not the sort of main event that really lets the show down.
Right, should be the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. So so this scored really, really well on the whole. But now we have the conversation to have. is Randy Orton and Rob Van Dam a hidden gem?
Oh, I mean, I only scored it an 8. You scored it a 9. What do you think?
I'm gonna say no. And that's not because I didn't love the match. I did love the match. But there's part of me that also looks and thinks it really, really stands out on this show.
Yeah,
As for
I'll
me,
give you
by
that.
far the best match on this show.
When we discovered that we would be covering this pay-per-view, it was the first match that sprung to mind. So
Yeah,
it's not, for me, it's not classed as hidden. Is it a gem? Yeah, probably, but it's not a hidden gem.
yeah. I would agree with that, and that for that reason, I will not be voting to put that on the list.
Yeah, I stand with you. A fantastic match, but not on the list, I'm afraid. It was just a shame because it would have made Randy Orton the most prolific hidden gem performer.
Yes, yeah, it would have done. It would have done. Right, so shall we pick another one?
You know what? Go for it.
All right, if you insist.
I do insist.
Let's go. Random number generator. Here we go. And we have every single pay-per-view that is available on the WWE network. So everything from WCW, WWFE, and ECW as well. Totaling over 550 pay-per-views. And our number this time is 36.
Okay, right. So that would probably be early to mid 90s.
Okay, let's find it. Shouldn't take me too long. Ooh. We have WWF.
Yeah.
SummerSlam 91.
SummerSlam 91. Oh my God, that is the match made in heaven and the match made in hell. Isn't it?
You tell me.
I'm sure it is. It's the wedding of Savage and Liz and the cage match with Ultimate Warrior versus Ravishing Rick Rude.
Amazing. Is this the one, or was it 90 that randomly has Tony Schiavone doing WWF commentary?
Oh, I can't remember. I think it might be 90, but it could very well be 90.
Right. It's one of them. One of those two, where Tony Schiavone randomly shows up. His commentary on the Nitro 4-way that we watched made me laugh because he doesn't know the names of stuff.
No, and he's meant to be the play-by-play guy.
Yeah. Like the Blitzkrieg did the what would you call it? Is it Phoenix Splash? The twisting 450?
Yeah. Phoenix Splash. Yeah.
So he does that, and Tony Schiavone just goes twisting, moving, gliding. I just can't think what to call it. It's just really, really funny. And at one point he just goes, yow! And that was it. Just silence after that. Just yow. Yeah, it really made me laugh.
Do you watch Botchamania?
Not religiously, but I've seen a lot of them, yeah.
In the most recent Botchamania, they showed a clip from Dynamite where Schiavone accidentally refers to referee Stefan Smith as Stephen Smith. Right. And Taz just goes, "It's Stefan." And Schiavone says, "What did I say?" And Taz just goes, "Stefan." And it had me in stitches.
Little things like that do amuse me. So we have SummerSlam 1991 to watch this week. I'm really looking forward to that.
You know what? I can't remember anything else on the show.
No, which makes it great fun. Okay, cool. We need a TV match. Do you have anything?
I do. Bear with me 2 seconds. It is. It's from my good friend Chris Moller, and it is from WWE Main Event. Unfortunately, yeah, right. Unfortunately, I don't think I have the date, but
Okay, we'll find it. We'll find it.
Talk amongst yourselves. Right. It's from November 21st, 2012. And it is The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler.
Okay. So they've had quite a few.
Exactly.
So it's whether this one stands out.
It was during The Miz's babyface run.
Ooh.
So the roles are reversed here.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I know when Main Event kind of started, they tried with it. They put some bigger name stuff on there.
Exactly. This
and
is
there was
like
some,
6 weeks into Main Event being a thing.
Yeah, and I remember receiving, I don't know where it came from, but I remember receiving, there was a DVD and it was like Best of Main Event. And I was like, what on earth? Like, everyone is on this. Like, just don't expect it to be so good. I mean, I actually look sometimes and see some of the matches that are on Main Event now and think that might be actually worth watching. Like, they still seemingly put decent matches on. Like, I know Mustafa Ali's on there quite a lot, and Apollo Crews, and a lot of the sort of undercard guys. But also, you see some of the Main Event, sort of main roster guys against NXT guys on Main Event as well. They sort of bring some of the NXT guys. And I saw recently was Shelton Benjamin against what's his name now?
Cameron Grimes.
No, British guy from Liverpool. Was Zach Gibson? What is he called now?
I can picture him. I can't think of his name.
Is it like Rip Fowler or something?
Something like that. They're the grizzled young vets, but they've got different names.
The Schism now, aren't they? The Schism.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was him against Shelton Benjamin.
Right.
And it was really good. Really good. Yeah, so that's what I thought of checking out.
One.
Sorry?
That was my Zach Gibson impression. Liverpool's number one.
Soon to be. That was a bit too Stephen Farrell there.
Lord Stephen Farrell.
Oh, he does make me laugh.
He's great. I mean, I can't stick him.
Yeah, one awful human being.
Yeah, hate him so much.
So we have scheduled for next week. We will be taking a look at the TV match from WWE Main Event. You said 21st of November 2012?
Correct.
Yeah, The Miz against Dolph Ziggler. So Dolph gets another chance to join that hidden gem list after his match with Randy Orton made the list. And we'll also be taking a look at WWF SummerSlam 1991.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I've got a feeling there's a really good 6-man tag on this, but I might be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the opener might have the tag team of the Texas Tornado, Ricky Steamboat, and the British Bulldog. Like some like combination like that. I might be wrong. It might be SummerSlam 90, but yeah, I remember it being.
No, that rings a bell, actually.
Yeah, I can't remember who they're wrestling. It might be DiBiase and 2 others, something like that.
Oh no, it was it was Warlord and someone.
Yeah,
Warlord, because I remember Bulldog and Warlord both been so jacked up they look like they're going to explode.
Yeah. Both had the roid guts.
Yeah, and obviously, you remember the match that this show's most remembered for, right?
I don't know if I do.
Okay, cool.
Is
I'll
it?
just let that sit.
Okay. Oh no! Is this, gentlemen? As you know, the Ultimate Warrior. Fuck it.
What?
When Mean Gene is interviewing Rick Rude backstage, and the SummerSlam logo falls off, and they kept it in.
Yeah, no, you're thinking of the wrong show.
Emma?
SummerSlam '90 was Warrior and Rick Rude in the cage.
Oh, so that means SummerSlam '91 is Hogan
And Warrior.
Hogan and was it Hogan? Yeah, Hogan and Warrior versus Iron Sheik.
Iron
And
Sheik, Sergeant Slaughter, and Colonel Mustafa.
yeah, with Sid Vicious as the ref.
Yes. Which
Is that
means
the
it's
match
also.
made in hell?
I can't remember how they build it, but yeah, Slaughter and that were the what are they calling themselves? The Triangle of Terror.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. Some of it's coming back to me now. Oh yeah, this is a good show.
Okay.
This is a good show.
Yeah.
Like legit.
Yeah, because Warrior
Legit.
would have been the champion when he wrestled Rick Rude. Yeah, okay, I messed that up completely.
Yeah. The main I can't imagine that main event being any good,
No.
but there are some stuff on here that I if I remember rightly, there's one match on here that is fondly remembered as one of the best matches of all time.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah,
I know exactly what it is. It's Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect.
yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Look forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. Might go watch it now.
Right.
Yeah, cool. So that pretty much wraps us up for this week. Just another shout out to everyone to check out DOA Wrestling. There's some big shows coming up in Ipswich, followed by Beach Ball Mania in Great Yarmouth, and also back in Bury. And there's all this is going to be heading towards our 10-year anniversary show. Lots of big announcements coming up soon. Check out our back catalogue on Fight TV as well. And any passing comments from yourself?
No passing comments. Yeah, I think you finished us off nicely there.
Fantastic. We will speak to you all soon. Enjoy your wrestling this week, and we'll be chatting about SummerSlam '91 and also The Miz and Dolph Ziggler next week.
Can't wait, baby.